Hi there, my name's Rick and this is my video, possibly the first of a couple, about Stefan Molyneux' free domain radio show, particularly show 2723, The Dangers of Unschooling, which featured Mark in the UK talking about his daughter and her attempts at unschooling. So I've got some different approaches to the ones that Stef was using. Basically this comes back down to the metaphysical level, and that's a big philosophical term. Like Stef himself, I'm a big fan of objectivism, and the other term that Ayn Rand has for metaphysics is sense of life in this context. So I think Stef is mistaken in his sense of life, and from that stems some other mistakes in his advice to Mark. Basically this is sense of life. What am I talking about? This is like joy or suffering. Is life about drudgery or pleasure fundamentally? Is it a benevolent or a malevolent universe? Stef talks about metaphysics when he talks about the feminists, right? We're talking about whether women are fundamentally good and men are fundamentally bad. Like in the, I haven't seen it yet, but I understand in the, what is it, the Maleficent, the Angelina Jolie film, the bigger the man's beard, the more evil he is. So it starts out with little evil deeds with the cleanly shaven guy, and then toward the end you know bad stuff's coming because the man's got a beard down to his knees. Something along those lines. So that's metaphysical value judgments, right? It's about your approach and association to life, to learning, to tasks. So here we start to see what the hell this man's talking about that has anything to do with that podcast. This is my premise. I might go ahead and prove this if I get a half decent reception, but right now what I'm going to try and do is just lay it out, the two sides of the coin, where Stef's coming from as I see it and where I want to come from, and then we'll talk about who's right. So here's my idea, that nothing in reality requires that it be extremely frustrating. So when you set about chores, say like brushing your teeth, learning to read, learning to walk, fixing your car, the art of motorcycle maintenance, all that sort of stuff, there's nothing inherent in those tasks that says this must suck shit. It's all down to the individual. That's my idea. It's about everyone's noticed this, right? Some people like to organize and some people hate it. Some people like to bathe, some people can't stand it. For a good example, when I was listening to this podcast, I was listening to my wife. No, I don't do that. I was listening with my wife in the bedroom, and the bit came on of this show where Stef says, what was it? Cleaning teeth is boring. Cleaning teeth is no fun. Nobody likes it in the whole world. My son came in. He's 4 years old, and he spoke up and he said, brushing teeth not fun. He's silly. My son says the word silly a lot. Not around me, like to me. It's just I'm sure if I wasn't referring to me. So, that drew a big contrast. So for Stef, right, brushing teeth not fun. For me and for my son, brushing teeth, we like it. We like that minty fresh feeling, and we like knowing that we're setting ourselves up for it. There's a lot of things I enjoy that a lot of people don't enjoy. And I'm really starting to understand that Stef does not like a lot of these things. I can go on and on and on. You probably think I already have. I'm just going to wrap this up though. For example, Stef does not enjoy the free domain radio show fully. And as 2IC Mike literally said, more than 50% of putting that show together is not fun. That's really interesting. Now maybe it can't be fun for them and never can be fun for them. But the other part is they're passing that on to their children, right? And where did they get the idea that it can't be fun? And I think that Stef would say that that's the way it is. That's metaphysical. He's just passing on the facts of reality. Doing shows is not fun. Brushing teeth is not fun. So of course, our children are not going to get it from us that learning isn't fun if we don't think it's fun. If you go to the state schools, you will find out that learning is not fun. They'll ruin it for you. We all know this and accept this. I don't think we need to, that's not something Stef and I need to argue about. Okay, so here's the thing. What separates the people who are frustrated by a task from those who aren't, or who enjoy the task? Well, like I say, I don't think it's inherent in the task. I think it's down to the attitudes and associations that we've been given. I think in your case, Stef, the attitudes and associations handed down to you was that work was not fun and you avoided it. Why wouldn't you? Cleaning, for instance. Don't enjoy cleaning, do you? I do. I know, I do. Especially if I can listen to some AC/DC while I'm doing it. Turn it into a game, Mary Poppins style. More about that later if I do the next show. If I make another video, I definitely want to talk about Mary Poppins. That sounds weird already, doesn't it? But I do. I think it pretty much settles this whole debate. Spoonful of sugar. Anyway, yeah, oh, that's what I was going to say. So yeah, like you, Stef, my parents made things boring. You know, there's no spoonful of sugar stuff in my family. But I discovered, largely through watching movies like Mary Poppins or watching Doctor Who. Mark, by the way, is a Doctor Who guy, so he was looking for that sort of vibe, this sort of intrinsic, getting through, not necessarily taking things seriously, but winning at the end of the day just the same. Kind of an attitude that Stef was not putting out. So that's your association, but what you're born with you can change. By watching Doctor Who, by watching Mary Poppins, and just picking up rhythms from people who enjoy things, you can internalize that into your own little ecosystem. So you can learn to appreciate cleaning because you meet someone who leads the way. And you realize this is not boring. You find the fun, and it's a game, and you're off. It's no longer drudgery. It doesn't have to be drudgery. Anyway, I did say I was going to wrap this up. So yeah, that's basically where I was coming from. Haven't got anything in my notes saying anything else except... Oh yeah, okay. So Stef, if I'm not mistaken, said literally, rather than passionate appreciation, a lot of life is boring, stupid shit. So that's when I realised I've got something to contribute here. And, you know, the guys, they invite people who disagree with FDR to come on the show to talk about their disagreement. And there's also, in that podcast, Stef talked about the importance of having each other's backs as dads. So, father to father, I think I've got your back on this. I think you're doing something wrong. I think you've made a mistake. And I'd like to offer you correction. Or, for goodness sake, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's have this debate. And so far, it hasn't been forthcoming. Alright, I'm done now, but what I'd like to do, actually, I've got a list of some more explicit philosophy. You know, we've got the greatest philosophy show on earth going on here, so I don't think it's asking too much to put some big ideas down or to use words like metaphysical value judgments. So I'll hand over now to the graphics, and I'll tell you what my side of this kind of dichotomy is, this Apollo versus Dionysus, as Nietzsche called it. And I'm going to play the clips from Stef, where hopefully I'm not taking anything out of context. He's making it quite clear which side of the coin he's on.
Studying is hard sometimes. It's not your fault that a lot of life is not a huge amount of fun. Acceptance of drudgery is essential for success. Yeah, I mean, to me, if you can get an occupation that is 10 to 20% really fun, that's about as great as it can be. Reading books and practicing and doing all the boring, stupid shit that it takes to become really good at something. If you want to write great songs, you've got to spend about 10,000 hours writing shitty derivative songs, and then you get your magic key to the kingdom of originality.
But we know what her interests are, but...
Well, interests, you know. What does that have to do with what you're going to do with your life? It's not unimportant. No.
To me.
But being interested in doesn't mean shit in life, Mark.
Yeah, but she's still young.
Being interested in stuff doesn't, like, I'm interested in antiques. Does that mean I get a TV show? No, and I'm not actually interested in antiques. Having interests is, who cares? I like playing bridge. Can I have a paycheck? That's my job as a father. That's not your job is to learn and play and have fun and get hugs and giggles and chats and fantastic stuff. And we play, you know, ice dragons and kitties with wings and all that great kind of junk. I don't imagine that many kids are going to really want to go and do stuff that is really tough for them. But when you're a kid, you don't understand the value of hard work. It is only after the value of hard work that you understand why it's so important. So the idea that a 15-year-old would rather, or a 13 or a 12-year-old when she started, would rather play computer games than learn vector calculus, it would be incomprehensible if that was the opposite way. That is emotionally challenging, that is grueling, that is vulnerable, that is fearful for them. Have they pushed through all of that, which is always the barrier between mediocrity and success? Like, computers have elbowed aside the boredom that drives creativity. And I believe that tsunami of stimulation washes away the boredom that drives creativity.